the calm before the break. He walked into that hearing like it was just another box to check. Room 2141 of the Rayburn House office building felt like it always did on a rainy Wednesday morning in D.C.A. Sterile, too bright, slightly too cold. Outside, a light drizzle tapped against the concrete as aides in trench coats hustled between buildings, holding coffee cups and talking into Bluetooth mix. Inside, the air smelled faintly of printer ink, government carpet, and control. Kash Patel arrived 5 minutes early. His navy suit was crisp, the jacket tailored with the kind of arrogance only someone sure of their clearance could wear. His burgundy tie popped against the grayscale palette of the room louder than necessary, but it made him visible, deliberate. His smirk, as he leaned back in the witness chair and exchanged low jokes with his attorney, said everything. This would be routine. The cameras adjusted. C-SPAN, PBS, MSNBC, even a streaming startup covering federal transparency hearings had sent a junior crew. The microphones blinked red, alive. Chairs creaked, legal pads rustled, and somewhere, someone coughed as Chairman DuPont cleared his throat. "Good morning," DuPont began, barely looking up. "Today's session will address prior testimony by Mr. Patel concerning the March 14 intelligence briefing. We appreciate your cooperation, Mr. Patel." Patel nodded smoothly, happy to clarify. No one expected a headline. No one expected fireworks. No one expected Jasmine Crockett. She entered quietly. No entourage. Just her, a small black leather folder, and her aide, Brenda Moreno, a sharp-eyed woman in a deep green suit. Brenda leaned in, whispered something. Jasmine didn't nod. She didn't blink. Her eyes focused, patient. Predators still were locked not on Patel but on his lawyer. It began like all hearings do, dry. Patel confirmed dates, timelines, organizational chains. He answered and clipped, rehearsed phrases. His voice was confident, nearly smug. The kind of confidence that came from knowing he'd survived tougher rooms. But then, 32 minutes in, Chairman DuPont gave the floor to Rep. Crockett. She adjusted her mic. Her tone was calm. "Mr. Patel," she said, "in your last appearance before this committee, you stated under oath that you had no written communication with Mr. Devlin concerning the March 14 briefing. Is that correct?" Patel barely looked up. "That's correct." Jasmine flipped the page. Then another. Quietly, without ceremony, she pulled out a plain sheet of paper. "I am entering into the record a memo dated March 13, she said, "from your personal email to Mr. Devlin's private account. It references verbatim details of the March 14 briefing." The words landed like sleet, a quiet, cold, inevitable. The room didn't gasp. No one moved. But something shifted. Someone behind Patel shifted in their chair. Patel himself blinked once, then leaned slightly forward. "That's not possible," he said. "That email must be misattributed." But Jasmine was already reading. Each line was surgical, each sentence a timestamp. Names, CCs, a brief mention of off-record deliverables. At the bottom, his signature. Brenda's eyes were locked on Patel's lawyer. The man had stopped smirking. His jaw flexed. Chairman DuPont raised a brow. "Mr. Patel, do you have an explanation?" Patel leaned in. "Yeah, broken bar. I need to review that. It may be a draft someone else composed." Jasmine looked up for the first time. "Would you like to review it now?" She slid a copy toward the clerk, then added, without raising her voice, "This is one of several discrepancies our team discovered." Before she could continue, Patel interrupted, "With all due respect, Representative, that email doesn't reflect what actually happened. There's context you're missing." "Then perhaps," she said, turning another page, "you can provide that context now." Patel inhaled. "If someone on my staff sent a draft and it was logged under my address, you signed it." Jasmine interrupted. Her tone didn't change. Still calm, still composed. "We matched the metadata, the font, the sender IP, the signature EM identical to 3 other messages from your personal server. Would you like those entered into the record as well?" Murmurs rippled through the room. Patel's smirk had vanished. He scratched his jaw, blinked again. Brenda handed Jasmine another document, this time, printed in color. "This is a screenshot," Jasmine said, holding it up. "An encrypted text exchange with Mr. Devlin dated March 14, the morning after that memo. You wrote, 'A memo's locked, clean, off radar,' just like we said." Do you dispute this? Patel let out a tight, forced laugh. We're really reading screenshots now. Do you dispute the content? I'm saying you're trying to spin casual conversations into something they're not. They concerned a federal intelligence briefing, Jasmine replied flatly. Nodded in a reservation. For the first time, even the committee members previously tuned out had locked in. Phones lowered. Eyes shifted. Chairman DuPont leaned forward. Mr. Patel, you may answer the question or invoke your Fifth Amendment rights, but I will remind you this committee takes perjury seriously. Perjury. The word hung like a thundercloud. There's no perjury. Patel snapped. This is a smear job. You're here because things don't add up, Jasmine said, not because we want headlines. Her voice hadn't raised an inch. But it was Patel's turn to fumble now. He looked down. His lawyer leaned in, whispered. The camera caught it all, the sweat beating at Patel's temple, Jasmine's quiet stillness, and the silent storm building beneath every exchange. Outside, in room 2142, a staffer watching on a live feed whispered, "She's cooking this man, and she was only getting started." The folder. The moment Chairman DuPont called for a recess, the room cracked open. Kash Patel didn't wait. He stood, yanked the mic off his lapel like it was a wiretap, and muttered something low under his breath, not to the chairman, not to Jasmine, just to himself, like a man in a dream watching it turn into a nightmare. He didn't ask permission, didn't look at his lawyer, didn't wait for the cameras to cut. He stormed toward the side exit usually reserved for committee staff and witnesses on deck, his jaw tight, his steps fast. His attorney followed a beat later, whispering sharply, but the cameras didn't stop. They stayed wide, tracking Patel's movements past the chairwoman's desk, past the press table, past the moment he pushed through the door and vanished from frame. The room didn't move. No one said a word, not for 5 full seconds. Then chaos. Reporters grabbed phones, staffers huddled, aides whispered in corners. On the live broadcast, anchors had already begun improvising. The feed was being clipped in real time on TikTok, on X, on YouTube. At a coffee shop in Denver, a college student turned his laptop toward his friend. "Bro," he said. "Did he just walk out?" Inside the hearing room, Jasmine stayed seated. She hadn't looked at her phone once. Brenda leaned in and whispered, "He's rattled." Jasmine nodded, slow and deliberate. Her eyes didn't leave the table. "He's hiding something bigger." Across the chamber, the camera zoomed in slightly. The frame was now split to an empty witness chair on one side, Jasmine Crockett on the other, still poised, waiting. Then Brenda slid the folder. No one saw what was inside, only that it was slim. 4 pages. Jasmine opened it with one hand, eyes skimming slowly down the first sheet. She didn't react outwardly, but something in her posture changed. Her shoulders straightened, her jaw set. The pause 30 seconds, maybe a minute, felt like a new kind of silence. When she looked up, she said nothing, but the cameras caught her eyes. The hearing room wasn't silent now, it was alert, primed. Chairman DuPont looked toward her, then toward the hallway Patel had disappeared into. He sighed audibly, then spoke into the mic. Given Mr. Patel's sudden departure, he said, "This hearing will recess briefly. We'll reconvene once counsel advises on next steps." He gavelled once, then stepped away. Behind the curtain, 2 doors down, in the secure witness consultation room, Patel was pacing. His tie was loosened now, his face red, the confident gleam gone. His attorney stood behind a government-issued laptop, tapping fast. An aide stood near the door, trying not to look panicked. "What the hell just happened?" Patel snapped, voice rising. "How did she get that memo?" His lawyer didn't answer at first. Instead, he zoomed in on an internal access log. "Someone gave it to her," he said finally. "Someone inside." "That document wasn't even in discovery," Patel muttered, staring at the wall. "It was buried." "I know it was buried." The lawyer zoomed again. "This isn't public domain. This came from your internal folder archive, encrypted." She didn't guess a password. "This was handed over." Patel turned. "You think Devlin flipped?" "I think it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is what's in the next folder." Patel stopped. "What folder?" The attorney looked up. She didn't touch her phone the whole time. "That means it's in paper." "That means she's holding." Patel exhaled hard and sat down. The aide near the door whispered, "What do? We get ahead of it." the lawyer said. If she brings it out and you're not in the room, you've lost the story. You've lost the court. You've lost everything. Patel said nothing, just stared at the floor. Meanwhile, outside room 2141, the world was waking up to the fire. Live shots had already hit CNN and MSNBC. Fox ran a banner. Patel walks out mid-testimony. This is a smear job. TikTokers were slicing clips with dramatic music. A reaction video from a student in Chicago hit 2 million views before the hearing even reconvened. At a high school in Atlanta, a civics teacher turned on the projector and said, "Watch this. This is what checks and balances look like." A split-screen image of Patel leaving and Jasmine calmly reviewing her folder was now a meme. At a gas station in Phoenix, someone watching on their phone whispered, "Yo, did she just end his career?" The return. 27 minutes after he walked out, Patel returned. No dramatics, no storming, just a quiet re-entry through the side door, coat folded over one arm. His tie was loosened, his expression hollowed out, the arrogance was gone. The fire dimmed. It was the face of a man who'd just been told, "The story is no longer yours." Chairman DuPont reconvened with a simple, "Let's proceed." Jasmine didn't even look up. She was already there, calm, focused, a folder in front of her. "Mr. Patel," she began. "Earlier you stated that the memo from March 13 was merely a draft, that it was never intended to be acted on. Is that still your position?" Patel exhaled. Some of the language in that memo was not meant to be taken literally. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. "A memo's locked, clean, off radar. That's not literal?" "I was referring to internal clearance procedures," he said. "We use shorthand. A off-radar is shorthand for." He didn't answer, so she continued. "We've confirmed the next document with legal staff and 2 independent analysts," she said. "It's an internal memo from your private server, dated March 16. Subject line, a deconfliction plan. Avoid traceable channels." Brenda tapped the key. Behind her, the document appeared on the digital screen, a bold text, black background, clean white font. It wasn't speculation, it was a playbook. "Use encrypted apps for non-public scheduling. Burner phone list maintained for outreach. No names in draft comms. No cloud saves. Clear calendar metadata manually." Jasmine read each bullet slowly, then looked up. "This was authored 2 days after you told this committee under oath that no such tactics were used." The room didn't murmur this time, it gasped. Even the Republican members who'd been quiet until now leaned forward. Patel's lawyer stayed still. Patel stared at the document. Finally, he said, "That language was meant to manage risk. It's common in security contexts." Jasmine didn't flinch. "You said under oath these tactics were never used." "Not that they were common, not that they were contextually misunderstood. Never used." Patel's jaw tensed. Brenda handed her a third document. "And then there's this, a text chain, from Patel's phone, to a number labeled W staff line. A make sure we don't mention it in email. If she asks, deny it. She won't follow up." Jasmine let the words hang in the air. Patel's lips parted. "Dana, I didn't write that," he said. "The lie was too late, too weak, too broken. Metadata confirms otherwise." Jasmine said, "It was backed up automatically to your cloud before your phone was factory reset on March 18. The screen behind her flickered to another slide. Device log, timestamp, backup path. You could feel the oxygen thin in the room. You factory reset your phone." Jasmine said, "The day after our committee formally requested records." Patel turned to his lawyer. "Do I have to keep answering?" Chairman DuPont leaned forward. "Yes, you're under oath, Mr. Patel." Silence. Something broke in, not loudly, not dramatically. Just a subtle collapse in posture. A hunch, a slow exhale, a flicker of eyes that no longer searched for a counterattack. Patel leaned forward. "I was following a playbook," he said quietly. "A playbook, one that was understood, one that worked." Jasmine's fingers tightened around her pen. "And who wrote that playbook?" He hesitated. "The policy team," he said. "At least 5 of us." "Were you instructed to keep communications off the record?" He nodded. "Slow." "By whom?" He didn't answer. Brenda looked to Jasmine. They both knew the name would come, just not yet. Aftermath. Within 30 minutes, the quotes hit news takers. "Patel, I was following a playbook." Crockett, You factory reset your phone the day after records were requested. Patel confirms at least 5 officials involved in off-record communications. At a middle school in Spokane, a student raised their hand and asked, "Can Congress do that?" Their teacher said, "Number." That's why this matters. Outside the hearing room, protesters gathered, not organized, just a broken bar reactive. People holding signs printed at FedEx that morning, the kind of real-time civic response nobody plans for. Inside, the hearing still wasn't done. Jasmine leaned forward. "There's one more document," she said. Brenda passed it. She held it up but didn't display it yet. "I wasn't planning to introduce this today," she said. "We were waiting on confirmation. But since Mr. Patel has acknowledged the existence of a broader policy, a broken bar," she looked him directly in the eyes. "This message is from March 12th, 2 days before the March 14th briefing. It is from a signal chat between you and a staffer codenamed W staff line." She tapped the screen. A single message appeared. "Greater than Devlin's worried. Tell him we'll wipe logs after. She won't have time to catch it before recess." Jasmine's voice didn't rise, but every heart in that room did. Chairman DuPont adjusted his glasses. The room held still. Patel didn't speak, didn't blink, didn't move. The whistleblower. The hearing adjourned. But nothing was over. Not for Congress, not for Kash Patel, not for the country that, by now, was watching live on 3 networks and half the internet. As Patel sat silently at the witness table, his hands clasped, eyes down, the chamber began to hum with momentous senior staff whispering, committee members texting aides, press scrambling to grab a soundbite before security cleared the room. But Jasmine Crockett didn't move. She remained seated, that same slim folder closed neatly in front of her, flanked by Brenda on one side and Derek Flores on the other, a young staffer who looked like he'd aged 5 years in the past hour. "What's the count?" Jasmine asked, voice low. Derek checked his tablet. 2 million watching on X. 6 trending hashtags. CNN just went full wall-to-wall coverage. "They've got a constitutional law professor breaking down your cross-examination." Brenda added, "Devlin just followed you on LinkedIn." Jasmine let out the smallest exhale of amusement, but her eyes never left Patel. He was unraveling quietly now, not with panic, but with a kind of exhausted resignation. He wasn't going to fight this. He was going to drown in it. The exit doors opened again, and Chairman DuPont stepped out, motioning to Jasmine. She stood and followed. Cameras swiveled. Reporters leaned forward, and still Jasmine hadn't played her final card. Outside the room, the hallway was packed with reporters, cameras, interns with iPhones, a few shell-shocked aides trying to coordinate statements. Chairman DuPont leaned against a column, motioning Jasmine over. "You want to tell me what the hell that was?" he asked, not angry, just stunned. "I told you in pre-brief I had documentation," she said evenly. "Yeah, but you didn't tell me you had that." "I didn't trust the leak risk." He nodded slowly. "Is there more?" Jasmine looked past him, toward the end of the hallway. "Yes." His eyebrows raised. "Is it nuclear?" Jasmine didn't answer. Because the truth was it was worse than nuclear. It was human. The call. It came while Jasmine stood by the vending machines in the hallway outside the hearing room, sipping a bad cup of coffee. Brenda's phone buzzed. Unknown number, untraceable region code. She picked up anyway. "Moreno," she said. The voice on the other end was male, strained, deliberate. "I don't want to go through lawyers. I don't want to go through press, but I have what she's missing, and I'll give it to her, if she promises not to make it about me." Brenda's face tightened. "Who was this?" The voice ignored the question. "March 10th, internal memo. They called it Operation Eclipse. It predates the Devlin email by 4 days. I was part of the drafting team. I didn't sign it, but I saw who did." Brenda motioned sharply to Jasmine, who was already moving. The voice continued. "I have a copy, metadata intact. I sent it to a secure drop this morning. You can access it once I'm confirmed safe." "Who are you?" Brenda repeated, more firmly. "Check your text inbox, now." Brenda clicked the text. One image, a photo, a man's face blurred slightly, behind him, a nameplate, Kevin L. Harper, a senior strategy lead. Below it, a sticky note taped to the cubicle wall. In handwritten Sharpie, greater than cover your ass. Always assume she'll check. A.W. Devlin. Jasmine stared at the image. Tell him he's protected, she said. Brenda relayed the message, but the man had already hung up. The drop. 3 hours later, after illegal sweep and encryption screening, the Operation Eclipse memo was decrypted on a secure committee server. It was worse than anyone expected. It outlined not just off-record communications but deliberate obstruction of FOIA compliance, specific names, timelines, redactions made before documents were ever requested, a list of burner device serial numbers, a summary of 3 containment protocols in the event of whistleblower exposure, including the use of third-party contractors to quietly reassign leakers to non-security posts. Patel's name appeared 7 times, so did Devlin, but so did another name, Weston C. Ralston, a senior advisor in the West Wing. The storm. By 6 p.m., the story was everywhere. The New York Times ran a special evening edition online. Crockett confrontation uncovers potential intelligence cover-up. Rachel Maddow went live with the memo's bullet points, reading them aloud with increasing disbelief. Fox News split screens of Jasmine and Patel captioned, "Witch hunt or bombshell?" Even conservative outlets couldn't spin it fast enough. Patel walking out of a congressional hearing, then walking back in and confessing to following a playbook that was hard to polish. In living rooms across the country, people were watching not a news cycle but a moment, and then Jasmine dropped the final match. The interview. She wasn't supposed to do it. Her press team advised against it, but when The Ledger, an independent, high-reputation political news podcast, asked for an emergency sit-down interview, Jasmine said yes, not to CNN, not to MSNBC, to The Ledger, because it wouldn't be glitzy, it would be clean. The interview aired at 9:30 p.m. live, across platforms, 2 microphones, 1 camera, a single shot of Jasmine, seated alone, the same folder from the hearing beside her. The host, Michael Bray, leaned in. "Congresswoman Crockett," he began, "what just happened today?" Jasmine didn't blink. "What happened," she said, "was the discovery of a deliberate, coordinated effort to obscure facts from both Congress and the American people. An effort that began long before this hearing, an effort that likely reached into the executive office." Bray looked stunned. "You're saying this goes to the White House?" "I'm saying the names in that memo include people currently holding high security clearance. That makes it not just a policy issue, it makes it a national security breach." "Do you believe Kash Patel lied under oath?" "Yes." "Do you believe he acted alone?" "Number." Bray paused. "What happens next?" Jasmine looked directly into the camera. "What happens next is justice, or the absence of it, and that's not up to me. That's up to the Department of Justice. But I will say this: if this Congress has the courage to subpoena everyone named in that memo, and to protect the whistleblower who came forward today, we will restore at least some of the public's faith in oversight." "Are you worried about retaliation?" A silence. Then, "I'm not here to survive this system," she said. "I'm here to confront it." The whistleblower appears. The next morning, Kevin Harper came forward. Voluntarily, his identity was confirmed. He gave an interview, behind a black silhouette, voice scrambled, but his words cut through the distortion. They never thought anyone would ask the right questions. They assumed it would be political theater, not actual investigation. But Jasmine didn't just read the paper trail, she understood it. He paused. "They taught us to cover for each other, but they forgot to ask her what happens when someone's not interested in covering anymore." The resolution begins. Within 72 hours, Patel's lawyer issued a statement saying he was fully cooperating and clarifying previous testimony. The Department of Justice opened a formal inquiry. Subpoenas were issued to Devlin, Harper, and 3 unnamed staff members tied to Operation Eclipse. Congressional leadership announced a full internal review of staff clearance practices, but none of that was the moment people remembered. What they remembered was the hearing, the calm voice, the printed screenshots, the clipped words, "It's not the emails that cornered you, it's your words," on the record, and the shot of Patel's fascia when he realized he was no longer in control. Epilogue. 10 days later, room 2141 of the Rayburn House office building was quiet again. Same lights, same walls, same plaque on the door, but it felt different. There were fresh flowers in the corner sent anonymously. A card tucked behind them read, "For those who speak when silence is safest." Jasmine walked in without fanfare, a fresh folder under her arm. Brenda followed, holding coffee. Derek was already waiting, his tablet open. "They just released the Devlin deposition transcripts," he said. He flipped. Jasmine didn't react. Brenda asked, "Are you ready?" Jasmine looked at the committee seal, then nodded. "Let's go." She wasn't just testifying now. She was rewriting the playbook.